All right, everybody. So today's workout is a full body strength workout, and you're going to need one set of medium dumbbells. It's a rep-based workout, so you're going to need to count your reps. Anywhere from 12 to 15 reps per exercise. We'll be doing 2 sets of everything. When I originally recorded this workout, I did it in silence with the intention of doing a voiceover. So that's what you will hear. You'll hear me just giving you the cues as I go through the workout. So just be sure to pace yourself accordingly and pick weights that you're pretty confident that you can do 12 to 15 reps of each and every exercise. So here we go. All right, so I'm assuming that you're warmed up, but I'm taking you into your first exercise, which is a single leg reverse lunge. I am staying on one side, and I will be doing about 12 to 15 reps each leg. Weights are just holding by my sides. That's quite honestly the easier way to go for these. If you want it to be more challenging, take the weights up to your shoulders and just hold them there. So once you've made your way through one leg and you switch to the other side, I did want to mention, and you guys probably know this, but you want to just make sure that your shoulders stay over your hips. Your core stays engaged. And as you step back, you want to be somewhat generous about that step back. If you notice, if you're looking at the camera, you can see that my knee is dropping underneath my hip. You could certainly step back further than that. But I like to just make sure that I'm loading up the leg that I'm trying to work, not the back leg. Second exercise is a chest press. You can take the weights in your hands, head down on the ground. I like my feet up in the air because it helps me to keep my lower back a little bit more neutral. But you're going to see me change my legs here. And this is a variation that I like to do that does challenge the core a little bit more, and you probably are familiar with this from the core workouts that we did in the past 2 weeks. So my legs are in the dying bug position as I go into that chest press. Third exercise is a pullover, and we did this one last week as well. It's for your back. You want to keep your arms somewhat straight. I have the 2 weights pressing together, hinging from the shoulders, lowering back and down until the weights tap the floor. You can definitely also do this one on a bench. In fact, if I were in a gym setting or I had a bench at home, I would probably opt to do it from the bench. All right, so last exercise in this first circuit is a V-up. And again, you've done this with me before in the past couple weeks. Knees to chest is the easier option. You can see me just grabbing my knees and pulling them to my chest. If you want it more challenging, don't do that. Reach your hands up. See, I've taken that momentum away by not bringing the arms over my head. The third way you can make this more challenging is to make your legs straighter. And if it's too challenging, you can go one leg at a time, which you can't see me doing in this video, but it's definitely an option to just lift one leg at a time as you do this. All right, so I'm not going to speak through the next section. You guys have your cues. You're ready to go, so you can just follow along on the screens. Remember, it's rear lunges, chest presses, pullovers, and V-ups. I'd be interested to get your feedback on whether you're okay with that silence. Anyway, here we are. Okay, grouping two. We have 4 different exercises. They are side lunges with a bicep curl, bent over rows, push-ups, and a Russian twist. All of these should be somewhat familiar to you from the past 2 weeks, but the side lunges, I put a different spin on it just because I'm adding weights. When we did them Friday. We did them in the cardio class. We just did them body weight, but here we're working strength. So when you're ready to grow, grab your weights. Pick them up, obviously. I'm using the same weights that I used for the first circuit. Side lunges, so big, generous step to the side. And as you can see, I lower the weights down to sort of frame my shin. My back is flat. Think deadlift, right? I was always saying in deadlift, you want to make sure that that spine is nice and long. Lower the weights down, and then pull them up to your shoulders. I will warn you, this will raise your heart rate if you're not used to doing 2 things at once like this, so take your time, and if it's too much, you can definitely just let the weights hang by your sides. Alternatively, if you want to load up that working leg a little more, you could just keep the weights at your shoulders. It really just depends on what your goal is, right? So there's always an option to personalize these things as they work for you. So you notice I'm staying on one side, I'm not alternating. So that's a little different than what we did last Friday. And again, it's 12 to 15 reps is what we're shooting for. Next exercise, come into your hinge position, bend your elbows, and pull your weights up towards your ribs. You might want to notice in your own body, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm trying to take my torso as parallel to the ground as possible. Because if you think about it, when you're doing a row, what you're really doing is trying to work that weight against gravity. And if you try to stand up, you may end up feeling it in your lower back or your neck, and that's not good. All right, next exercise is a basic push-up. I'm doing mine on my knees. Feel free to do them any way you like. You know, and this is a good pointer. I know some of you are struggling with push-ups. You've reached out to me to say that. You can always elevate your hands on like a coffee table or something. That just might be a better fit. And whether that means you need to go to your knees as well with your hands on the coffee table, all good. All right, next up is a Russian twist. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure that we've done this in the past 2 weeks. But in any case, I'll walk you through it. Feet on the ground, core engaged. All right, I'm going to move the weight just to my left. Now you can see that I'm tapping my elbow, tap, right on the ground, tap. And I'm using my obliques to pull myself back to center. All right. I also like and prefer to keep my feet down because that helps me to not move my lower body. In this exercise, what you really want to do is not move your lower body. So I would say keep your lower body quiet. If you feel any pulling through your hip flexors, which is common, try digging your heels into your mat or the floor where you ever happen to be working out. And I have to say, I'm laughing at this because I do tend to do these kind of on the fast side. So feel free to do them at any pace, right? If you feel like I'm moving a little bit fast for you, feel free to slow it down. All right, so I'm going to be quiet, let you guys get through the next section, and I'll be back at the top of the 3rd circuit where we'll have 3 exercises to do. So you guys, I actually shot this workout back in July with the intention of using it in this series, and I didn't edit out these little pieces. This is literally just me working out in my backyard with a circuit that I was going to do again for this challenge and for my my group classes. So I just chose not to speak through it at the time that I shot it, just to see what it came out like. But here we are again with the voiceover, so I am able to give you some instruction. And a lot of this stuff is going to be familiar to you because you've done it the past 2 weeks. And if you skip those workouts, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, so first exercise here is kind of a hybrid on, if you remember back to that day that we did the lower body workout where I was shooting it in the studio, and it was that single leg hinge, like a deadlift, kickstand deadlift. That is basically what I'm doing here. And you could see me, I lifted my leg up just to indicate to you that I'm trying to keep that leg really light. So in this instance, my forward leg is my working leg. And I come up rather forcefully. I really do try to press my heel into the ground as hard as I can to get that work into the back of my leg. I'm really trying to focus on my hamstrings and glutes here. On a personal note, that's what I know that I need to work on. So that is a cue that helps me to connect with those muscles. So hopefully you find some value in that. The next exercise, come down onto your back. You're going to be doing a chest fly with your upper body and a double leg lift with your lower body. So you know the double leg lift from one of the core classes. And actually, I think the first day we might have done that, where you're just lowering your legs to the floor and you're doing chest fly at the same time. But what gets difficult about this, I go in one leg at a time initially. You may need to do that as well. But what gets challenging about this is keeping your lower back down on the ground. All right, so you have options, one leg at a time, or you could try 2 legs simultaneously, which is what I think I end up doing is. So if you happen to look up at the screen later, that's what you're going to see. But one leg at a time. And remember, with the chest flies, you want to make sure that you keep those elbows bent. All right, we got one more exercise in this sequence. And it is a bear squat. Again, you know that from one of the first weeks, right? I'm going to hold the bear squat, but then I'm going to do a renegade row. Now think back to those shoulder taps that we did. Remember those shoulder taps? The reason I had you do that on those days is to give you an option here, okay? I'm lifting the weights, but you also see me just lifting my hands. So you're going to do one or the other, or alternate them like me. The goal here is to try not to move your lower body at all. Like, keep the lower body really still. It's an awesome core exercise, great for your back because you got the rows built in there. All right, so when you're done that, you're going to take a rest, go through it one more time, same thing, working for 12 to 15 reps. I'll see you in a second. So, it's funny. This is not edited at all. This is in real time. So this is when I am working out. I am resting, resting for like about a minute between my circuits. So we're moving on to what we call a finisher. Now, if you guys think back to, if you remember the day that I had you do overhead presses, burpees, push-ups, that kind of thing in those 20-second sets where you're kind of like just doing a lot in a short amount of time. The whole goal is to leave you breathless, right? The whole goal is to do metabolic conditioning that sort of empties the tank. And I do like to do these at the end of my strength training workouts sometimes if I feel like I just want that kind of cardio push. I don't ever really do it for more than 10 minutes. This one, you're only going to see the first 2 minutes of it, but I did, I think, 3 or 4 rounds this day. So shoot for something like that. See how it feels. See what kind of energy you have left. And get your weights ready to go. All right, so the 3 exercises are a push press. You see me sitting in the chair here, and the reason that I'm doing that is I like to hold myself accountable by getting my butt to hit the chair when I'm doing those push presses, because I tend to be a little shallow on my squats since my hip replacement. I'm still working on it. So push press right up over your head. You're gonna do 10 reps. And here's the thing about this format, which is different than the other day. You're gonna do the 10 reps. You're gonna rest as needed, and then move on to the next exercise, okay? So once you get those 10, you take, 10 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, whatever you need to gather your wits about you to get in that next exercise. Okay, I'm laughing at myself because I must have been feeling feisty that day. I think I did 23 of those. Anyway, next exercise is a burpee. I'm going for 10. Okay, so remember for burpees, you have an option if you don't want to do the full chest down burpee. Just do the squat thrust from the first day. That's the one where you jump back to plank and then jump your feet forward. Push up. Again, make sure you're getting those feet flat on the ground. I always tell my clients, if you struggle to get your feet on the ground with a burpee, aim your toes towards your wrists, like go wide as your mat. If you're trying to come straight up the center, it does tend to get a little sloppy and can really aggravate your lower back. Ditto for the jumping back part, right? So you don't have to do them fast. Just take your time, be really aware of your form, move mindfully, and you're gonna just have a much better experience and ultimately just train yourself to get stronger. Last exercise is a jump squat. Again, should be familiar. Here we go. So I am jumping here, but if you notice, I land softly, right? I don't do these like really crazy jumps where they feel like they're a lot of impact. In general, I want it to feel like it's muscular versus muscular fatigue rather than joint fatigue. All right, cool. Awesome job. So if you have the energy to do that finisher twice more, I'd say go for it. I'll see you tomorrow.